Hey, so this is Nixie. This is Strymon's kind of device and preset management software. So you probably know if you have a Strymon device, you can manage presets on the device as much as you want, save stuff, all that stuff. But if you would like to manage it in a different way, you can use Nixie. You can find this on their website, and I'll put a link in the video below. And what Nixie does is you have to connect to your pedals via MIDI to your computer. And then your computer, through this program, can talk to your pedals. You can manage presets a lot easier and quicker than you can on the device. You can reorder them, stuff like that. To make that happen, you need what's called a MIDI interface. I'll put a link to the one that I've had the most success with and the one that Strymon recommends the most. It's a Roland, I don't know if it's called an UM1 or a UM1 interface. So it has USB on one end for your computer, and then it has a MIDI in and out on the other end. And on the back of your pedal, you connect them backwards. So you connect the out of your interface to the MIDI in and vice versa. And the key is it just has to make a loop. For this to see them. So you can connect multiple devices to it. You just have to have a loop. So for example, if you take your, like, let's just, you can watch the mouse pointer here. Let's say this is your interface right here, and you've got an out and an in. And let's say you have two of these connected. Connect the interface out to the in of your first device, make a MIDI cable connection from the out of your first device to the in of your second, and then connect the in of your interface over here to the output of the second. It's a little confusing to say, but as long as they're in a loop, then when you load Nixie, it's going to see all of the Strymon pedals in that loop, and then you can edit all of them at once, which is handy, and lots of people do that. So if you use like a looper of any kind, like you have like a mastermind or a disaster area or something like that, as long as your looper can create a loop of MIDI also, then you can just leave all of that stuff connected and you can see all of your pedals. So navigating the software is pretty easy. For starters, there's this preset collection thing over here, where they kind of give you the presets that come default with all three of the things. And then they'll auto-save. You can create your own collections as well. Inside here, you can turn that off or hit Command 1, and you can hide that from the view, which we'll do for the rest of this. And then once you're in device, you can detect devices, and you can, if you have your MIDI adapter connected, you can make sure that it sees it and all that stuff. And then there's some arrangement things. But what you can do is if you don't have anything plugged in, like I don't right now, or you just want to experiment, you can do an offline device. You can say new offline device, or you can click over here, and there's presets for that as well. So let's get a timeline in here. This is going to give us a timeline view of the timeline loaded with all the stuff here, the factory presets. We'll talk about that more in a second. And then let's load a big sky as well. And you get some cool window configuration things over here with 1, 2, and 3. You kind of get the maximum view of each one, which is great. Super high resolution, great looking graphics. Looks just like the pedal, except instead of all this stuff buried in the menus, you can see it right here visually all next to each other, which is super helpful, just to kind of get an idea of everything right away, what all your settings are quickly, so you can make sure. I remember having a preset where somehow my level was cut like 3 dB, and it was driving me crazy. But when I came in here and saw it, it's like, oh, that's the problem, and then you can fix it pretty easily. It's a lot easier than managing the menus for most people. So if you just press 1 back and forth, then you can toggle between what devices you have open. 2 is kind of a side-by-side. If you press 2 back and forth, you can see over here it's changing what device you see and what set of presets are loaded. And then 3 kind of cycles them back and forth. So it's just whatever you prefer to see. The biggest one is pretty good. And then over here, you can see the names of all the presets that you have. These are all the factories. Each one is each what do they call these? Each kind of delay type or engine or whatever has its own color code, so I can tell that both reversal and turnaround are both reverse delays. Whereas wow, 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 wowie, wow is a tape delay, and whatnot. So that makes that pretty easy. Some things that you can do pretty easily besides changing all the things. Whenever you alter a parameter, it'll tell you that you changed it, and it'll highlight the save button to let you know if you want to save it, that you can click save, and it's going to write it to the device. You can double click and rename new name pretty easily. You can save that, and when something's unsaved, number 2, you can see it kind of makes it highlights it and leaves it italicized, so you know that something's unsaved. Other great things you can do is you can rearrange. Apparently you have to do this first. Just do what it says. Sorry about that. And then you can allow this to do what it does, and that's fine. So then you can move these things around, and then that would swap those 2 presets. So new name and number 2 would be in different positions. It'll write all that to the device. This is helpful if you play somewhere, like if you play in a church or you play anywhere where you're playing different sets pretty regularly. This makes it a lot easier to call up your just your first couple settings. Like let's say like this week I'm playing new name, Sweet 16th, and number 2. Those are my first 3 presets. But let's say next week I want to play emerging and digislap and turnaround. I can switch all those, save it all, and then my first 3 presets are these instead. So it's super easy to manage. And it's the same with every device. Like if you switch over to the Big Sky, it's the same, except you'll see ABC banks or presets inside all the banks instead, because there's what is it, 300 on this one and 200 on the timeline. So same thing, you can switch stuff around as much as you want. You can change this to display like the name of the preset or the time. We can look at that on the timeline as well. What did I do? New name. You can also do BPM, new names 194 or milliseconds, whatever. And it's super easy to see that. And then you can change parameters on here. Like I can change my filter to whatever. You also, like on the pedal, when you do stuff and the light goes yellow when it changes a parameter, this one does the same thing with the save button. So I know if I'm just flinging this thing around, if I go down to right here, I don't have to save anymore because that's where it was originally. So nothing's changed, which is cool. Now with Verbi, let's add a bunch of grid and whatever. Oh, that's actually not highlighting save for me this time, but anyway, you get the idea of what you can change in terms of here. And you know, all these helpful persist, boost. Oh look, that one's at -3. That one would drive me crazy. Subdivision, all that kind of stuff. So and then just hit save when you're done. I think maybe this added me a whole bunch of extra collections by default, just because I had it. I made a bunch of changes, and it's smart enough to know that. Another handy thing you can do is backups pretty easily. There's a show backups. That's what it is. It shows you what folder on your computer that it stores the backups for all your devices in. So it's great to connect to it and make periodic backups in case something crazy happens and you don't lose all your presets. So anyway, really handy, well done piece of software. So great way to manage your presets for multiple devices at once. We'll add a Mobius in here. Look at that. And we got all kinds of 3. Same thing in here. It's all the same. And it's interesting. I don't have a Mobius, and so it's cool that I can open this up and see, well, what kind of things can I control with a Mobius, since Nixie's free and you can browse offline devices. Let's see what kind of stuff you can do. Tells you without even needing a manual or anything, all the stuff in here. If you want it to sound like a cell phone or an apartment intercom, that's easy to change. Take that, warbled wax. Let's call it cell phone wax. Anyway, you get the idea. Easy to manage, easy to use. So that's Nixie. I'll put a link to, what did I say I'd put a link to? The interface, the link on their website to download it. But yeah, holler at me if you have any questions, and if you want to see in-depth videos of more stuff, just click subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.